If you'd asked me a year ago how life was going, I would have probably said, pretty good. Steady job. Comfortable home. Beautiful wife. We weren't flashy. We didn't need to be. I was a systems architect for a mid-sized software company. Alina, my wife of 8 years, had been freelancing on and off. Lately she'd been restless, said she felt stuck. I figured it was normal. We'd been through ups and downs before. So when she told me over dinner that she was going back to full-time work, I was supportive. I need something new, she said. I want to feel useful again. Of course, I smiled. Whatever makes you happy. She landed a secretary position at a big consulting firm in the city, corporate tower, high floor, expensive view. Her boss? Vadim Igorovic, late 40s. Rich. Charismatic. The kind of man who makes an entrance and expects the room to orbit him. Too slick, I thought at our first meeting. But I kept that to myself. At first, Alina seemed happier. More alive. She started dressing up more. Bought new perfume. Little things. You look amazing, I told her. New dress. Just felt like trying something different. Her smile seemed genuine. Back then, I wanted to believe it. Then the late nights began. Deadline. Client dinner. Last-minute reports. At first, I shrugged it off. Big firm, busy life. But something was different. Her phone was always face down now. Notifications came in at odd hours. She'd glance at them, swipe them away. When I asked how work was going, her answers got shorter. Vague. One Friday, I suggested picking her up after work, surprise date night, just us. Her reply came too fast. No, don't bother. I'm going to dinner with the team. I said okay, but something inside me tugged. Against my better judgment, I drove to her office anyway, just to see. And there they were. She wasn't with the team. She was with him. Just the two of them. Outside the building. Too close. Laughing. His hand on her back, fingers lingering as he guided her toward his car. The way she smiled up at him, not how she smiled at me anymore. I sat in my car for an hour after that, watching, thinking. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. Something colder settled in, like ice forming in the veins. That night, she came home late, smelling of expensive cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't say a word, but I knew. Over the next few weeks, I started watching. Quietly. She wasn't careful, not enough. I pulled cloud backups, set up monitoring on her laptop. I'm in IT, it wasn't hard. It felt surgical, detached. And there it was. Texts, photos, reservations. Hotel suites booked on the company's account. Late night messages. Can't wait to see you. Last night was amazing. Let's plan a weekend away. You'd think betrayal hits you like a slap. But it doesn't. It seeps in, slow and corrosive. One message at a time. And as I read them in the dim glow of my office at 2 a.m., something inside me solidified. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to bury her. Not with fists. Not with shouting. With truth. With precision. Publicly. Irreversibly. She had no idea that the quiet, dependable husband sitting across the dinner table was already crafting her downfall. And this was only the beginning. After that night in the car, watching her with him, something in me changed. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Not until I was ready. Rage fades. But a plan that lasts. So I started building mine. Step 1. Gather everything. I set up remote backups from her cloud account, synced her phone to a shadow profile on one of my spare devices. Her messages, photos, calendar entries all flowed in, hour by hour. She was careless, confident. Thought she'd pulled the wool over my eyes. Every overtime was a lie. Every weekend conference was a getaway with Vadim. He even had a pet name for her, my little muse. Jesus. And the worst part? They used company money. Hotel suites billed to corporate accounts. Chauffeur services. Spa charges. Meanwhile, she'd come home, tired and stressed, and kiss me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. The mask she wore was flawless to anyone else, but not to me. Not anymore. Step 2. Secure my position. I wasn't about to let her bleed me dry when this all came out. We had a joint account. Not anymore. Quietly, I moved my share into a separate account under my name. I checked property records. The house was in both our names, but I had proof I'd paid the bulk of it. My lawyer confirmed it would hold up. Then there was the prenup, a document we signed when we got married, half forgotten in a file cabinet. But I remembered one line clearly: infidelity voids any claim to spousal support. At the time, it seemed like a formality. Now, it was my ace. Step 3. Choose the battlefield. This couldn't just be a quiet divorce. No, that would let her control the narrative. We grew apart. He didn't support me. I knew how these things went. But if her affair became public? If her boss was exposed? If the company was forced to act? Then the story couldn't be spun. I started collecting receipts, emails, hotel bookings, even security footage from the office garage. She wasn't subtle. They left together more times than I could count. I also had friends, a buddy in compliance at her firm. He owed me a favor. One quiet dinner, a couple of drinks, and I learned something valuable. Vadim was already on thin ice with HR. A scandal would ruin him. Perfect. Meanwhile, Alina floated through the house like nothing was wrong. She laughed at her phone at night, started humming in the mornings, even asked if I wanted to take a weekend trip sometime, just us, to reconnect. I smiled, said I'd think about it, all while archiving another batch of her messages. Last night was incredible. You're the only one who really sees me. She was writing her own epitaph. By the end of the second month, my plan was nearly ready. I had white heavy checkmark proof of the affair, white heavy checkmark financial safeguards in place, white heavy checkmark legal positioning secure, white heavy checkmark a clear line into her company's HR department. Now I just needed one thing: timing. The perfect moment. The right event. The place where masks would crack. And as luck would have it, that moment was coming. The company's annual gala, 2 weeks away. High profile. Public. Everyone who mattered would be there. So would we. And that was where I would strike point. 2 weeks. That's how long I waited. 2 weeks of smiling, nodding, pretending nothing had changed. Every night I sat in my office with her messages scrolling across my screen. More lies, more plans with Vadim. They were getting bolder. I can't wait to dance with you at the gala. Let's sneak away after. They thought they were invincible. Meanwhile, my plan was locked and loaded. My lawyer had the divorce paperwork prepared. Evidence compiled in a neat, devastating packet. I had a contact inside her company ready to pull the trigger when the time was right. All I needed now was that moment. The night of the gala arrived. I watched Alina get ready, new black dress, diamonds she hadn't worn in years, that new perfume again. She looked stunning, and cold as ice. You look incredible, I told her as we got into the car. Thank you, she smiled. I hope it's a good night. Oh, it would be. Just not for the reasons she thought. The ballroom glittered, chandeliers, champagne, a live jazz band. The company spared no expense. We mingled. I shook hands, made small talk, all while watching her, eyes darting, looking for him. And there he was, Vadim, across the room, holding court with board members, oozing charm. When their eyes met, something passed between them, a private smile. They thought they were untouchable. Then came the perfect cue. Around 9 p.m., a lull in the crowd. People gathering by the bar. I excused myself, slipped out to the coat check, where my gift waited, a simple envelope marked urgent. Inside, white heavy checkmark copies of their messages, white heavy checkmark hotel records, white heavy checkmark screenshots of their calendar entries, white heavy checkmark and a USB drive, with security footage from the garage. I walked back into the ballroom, calm, steady. My heart wasn't racing. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. I approached the bar. Alina was there. So was Vadim, leaning in, too close. They saw me coming. Alina straightened. Vadim smiled, smug, confident. I said nothing. Just set the envelope on the bar between them. You should read this. Alina's face froze. Vadim frowned, reaching for it. And before they could react, the projector kicked in. I'd arranged it days ago with the AV tech, a quiet bribe, a scheduled file to play at my signal. The screens flickered. The jazz music faded. And there they were. Text messages, displayed in bold white text on black. I missed your touch. Last night was magic. He'll never know. Then photos, her in a hotel room, him beside her. Time-stamped. Clear. The room went silent. Conversation stopped. Glasses paused mid-air. I stood at the bar, unmoving, watching. Alina gasped, face draining of color. Vadim swore under his breath, reaching for his phone too late. I leaned in just enough for them to hear. By the way, HR will be getting a copy in the morning. You might want to clear your schedules. And with that, I set my wedding ring on the bar. I'm done. Then I walked out past the stunned faces, past the whispers starting to ripple through the room. I didn't look back. Outside, the night air was crisp. I stood there for a moment, hands in my pockets. Free. But this wasn't the end. Oh no, this was only the first domino. Because the real fallout was just beginning. I didn't go home after the gala. I'd already packed a bag that afternoon. Instead, I checked into a quiet hotel on the edge of the city, nothing fancy, just a place with clean sheets and no questions. I sat on the bed, kicked off my shoes, and poured a drink from the minibar. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't angry. I was calm. More than I'd been in months. My phone buzzed for the first time around midnight. Alina. Then again. And again. Calls. Texts. Where are you? Please call me. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I wasn't interested in hearing excuses. Not anymore. By morning, the real fun started. I got a message from my friend in her HR department, short and sweet. We saw the video. Investigation opening today. Perfect. Less than an hour later, another message came through, this time from my lawyer. All documents filed. She's been served. At 9 a.m., Alina called again. I let it go to voicemail. She sounded shaken. Voice tight, strained. Please, please don't do this. Let's talk. We can fix this. Fix this? After months of lies? After humiliating me in public? No. Meanwhile, word of the Gala incident was spreading fast. By lunchtime, her company's internal chat was on fire. My buddy forwarded me some of the highlights. Did you see that? He played the whole thing on the big screen. Vadim is done. And indeed, by the end of the day, Vadim had been suspended pending review. HR wasn't playing games, not with public evidence and corporate funds involved. As for Alina, she showed up at our house that evening. I wasn't there. I'd already arranged to stay away, gave my lawyer the keys, notified my bank, locked down my accounts. But the cameras caught everything. She stood on the porch, looking wrecked, hair a mess, makeup smudged. She tried the door. Locked. Then she called again. Desperate now, please, please come home. I can explain. Don't throw everything away over a mistake. A mistake? I almost laughed out loud watching it on the feed. The next day, she switched tactics, tried contacting my family. My sister texted me. She's calling. Crying. Wants to talk. I told her no. Good. Alina wasn't used to losing control. For months, she'd been living a double life, one foot in our marriage, the other in Vadim's bed. She thought she could juggle it forever. But now? The mask was off. The cracks were widening. By the end of the week, white heavy checkmark Vadim was facing termination. White heavy checkmark Alina was on leave while HR completed their review. White heavy checkmark divorce proceedings were moving full speed. White heavy checkmark our social circle. Her social circle knew everything. Her Instagram? Private. Her Facebook? Silent. The polished image she curated, elegant wife, corporate professional, power couple partner, was unraveling. And I felt lighter than I had in years. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. And believe me, I wasn't done yet. I knew it wouldn't be over quickly. People like Alina, they don't fold after the first punch. They scramble. They scheme. They try to reclaim control. And sure enough, within days of the fallout, she started fighting back. First, the calls. Dozens a day. Voicemails switching tone. Pleading, angry, cold, then back to pleading again. You've made your point. Let's handle this privately. You're ruining my life over nothing. I made a mistake. You're not perfect either. Classic deflection. I ignored them all. Then came the lawyers. She finally hired one, not a great one, but loud enough to try intimidation tactics. I got a letter, a demand to cease and desist public defamation. Cute. My lawyer responded with a copy of the evidence packet and a polite note. No defamation, just facts. More than happy to see you in court. Radio silence after that. But Alina wasn't done. Next move? Playing the victim. I started hearing whispers from mutual friends, colleagues. She was spinning a new narrative. He was cold. He was distant. He drove me to this. Convenient, Considering the months of messages where she called Vadim her escape and said, "He'll never know. I don't care if he does." I didn't need to argue. The evidence spoke for itself. But still, I decided to push a little harder. I sent a discreet package to her HR department through my lawyer, fully anonymous. White heavy check arc full timeline of the affair. White heavy check arc list of company resources misused. White heavy check mark expense reports flagged for personal use. White heavy check mark hotel stays charged to corporate accounts. It was surgical, precise, irrefutable. By the end of that week, her leave became indefinite pending termination. The harder she tried to fight, the deeper she sank. She didn't know I'd been planning this for months. Didn't know I'd already secured white heavy checkmark sole control of my personal assets. White heavy checkmark locked the house mortgage in my name. White heavy checkmark moved all savings out of reach. White heavy checkmark filed for divorce under grounds that voided spousal claims. Every angle was covered. Every potential move blocked before she even thought of it. And then came the twist I hadn't seen coming. Vadim's wife reached out. I didn't even know he was married. Her name was Daria, cool, composed, razor sharp. We met for coffee, neutral ground. "You're not the only one cleaning up this mess," she said, sliding a folder across the table. Inside, white heavy checkmark screenshots, white heavy checkmark financial records, white heavy checkmark a deeper look into Vadim's other affairs. Turns out, Alina wasn't his first, just his latest. Daria wasn't there for sympathy. She was there to make a deal. "I'll be taking him to the cleaners," she said. "But if you'd like, I can help bury them both." I liked her style. By now, Alina's world was crumbling. White heavy check arc reputation shot. White heavy checkmark job hanging by a thread. White heavy checkmark friends backing away. White heavy checkmark divorce moving forward fast. And she was starting to feel it. Late one night, I finally picked up one of her calls, just to hear it. Her voice was small, cracked. "Please, can we just talk?" "No," I said calmly. "Talk to my lawyer." Then hung up. Because I wasn't done yet. Not until the final blow landed. And that was coming next. By this point, the board was set. Alina had no idea how close she was to total collapse. She still thought she could salvage something to house her image, maybe even some sympathy in court. But she hadn't learned the most important thing. You can't bluff when the other side already holds the winning hand. The first strike came midweek. I got a text from Daria, Vadim's wife. "It's done. Divorce filed. Evidence served to the board." That same day, news hit the company's internal channels. Vadim was officially terminated for gross misconduct and violation of company ethics. Corporate speak for, he got caught with his secretary on company time and money. Alina's reaction? Desperate texts, panicked voicemails. "Please, can we stop this? I've lost everything already." No, she'd barely begun to lose. The next step was personal. I arranged for my lawyer to schedule a formal property inspection at the house. She wasn't living there anymore. I'd locked her out, but she'd been telling people she might move back in. So I made it clear she wouldn't. When she showed up during the inspection, trying to bluff her way inside, I met her at the door, calm, steady. "You don't live here anymore." But no. She tried tears, tried guilt, even tried the old, "We had good years together, can't we find a way?" I didn't bite. I handed her a copy of the court order showing temporary sole occupancy. "Talk to your lawyer. Goodbye, Alina." And I closed the door. But the real final blow? That came online. I'd been patient, hadn't said a word publicly. But now? It was time for one well-placed leak, not from me directly, but through channels. An anonymous source, a concerned former colleague, sent a carefully crafted tip to a major local business blog. Scandal inside major consulting firm. CEO and secretary caught in months-long affair. Corporate funds misused. They ran the story. Names omitted, but anyone in the circle knew exactly who it was about. And it spread like wildfire. By Friday, Alina's phone must have been blowing up. Her Instagram? Deleted. Facebook? Wiped. Friends? Silent. Even her own family was backing away. I heard through my sister that her parents were deeply disappointed, and just when she thought it couldn't get worse, her lawyer reached out to mine with a quiet message. She'd like to settle. No contest. No claims. In other words, she was surrendering. I met with my lawyer that afternoon. We reviewed everything. White heavy checkmark assets secured, white heavy checkmark house retained, white heavy checkmark no spousal support, white heavy checkmark divorce on my terms. It was over. That evening, sitting on my porch with a glass of whiskey, my phone buzzed one last time. A text from Alina. You win. I didn't reply. Because this was never about winning. It was about taking back my life, piece by piece. And now? I had. It was done. The divorce finalized. The house was mine. The account secured. Alina? Out of my life. No more calls. No more texts. Just silence. Exactly what I wanted. Funny thing about revenge, when you're in the middle of it, it's all-consuming. Every move, every message, every carefully timed strike, it becomes your world. But once the dust settles, you're left with yourself. And that was the part I'd been thinking about. For the first few weeks, I kept to myself. Work, gym, even some weekend fishing trips, just me, a rod, and the sound of water. No phone, no drama. It felt strange at first, like I was relearning how to breathe. But it was good. Necessary. Word spread fast in our old circles. Some friends faded away, the ones who'd been more her friends than mine. No loss there. Others reached out quietly, respectfully. Didn't know what was going on. You handled it well. If you ever want to grab a drink, let me know. I appreciated it. But I wasn't rushing back into the social scene. I'd spent too long pretending. I wasn't about to start faking smiles now. And Alina? Last I heard, she'd moved in with a friend. No job. Reputation in ruins. She tried reaching out once, an email. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't respond. Some things don't deserve closure. The house felt different now. Lighter. I started changing things, new furniture, fresh paint, even tore out the old dining room where we used to host those fake perfect dinner parties. This space was mine now, and I wanted it to feel like it. One night, a buddy from work, Chris, invited me to a small get-together. No pressure, no big scene. I almost declined, but something in me said, go, just live. So I went. Nothing earth-shattering. Just beers, good conversation, normal people. And that was exactly what I needed. Toward the end of the night, I met someone casual, easygoing. No expectations. No pretense. We talked, laughed, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something new. Hope. Not for a rebound. Not for moving on in the cliché sense, but for a life where I didn't have to look over my shoulder. Where trust wasn't a battlefield. Where I could just be. Looking back now, I'm not angry. Not anymore. She made her choices. I made mine. And in the end, I came out stronger. Wiser. Sharper. Would I do it again? No question. Because some lessons in life, the hardest ones, shape you in ways comfort never can. So here I am. New chapter. New life. And if there's one thing I know for sure, I'll never let anyone turn me into the fool again.